Welcome to Menopause and Miracles, the podcast where midlife women rediscover themselves, navigate the twists and turns of dating, relationships, menopause, and life's unexpected reinventions. And remember that it's never too late to create a life and a love that feels deeply aligned with who you are today. I'm Suzanne, your host and your midlife wingwoman, and today we're diving into a question so many of us have asked. In a world with endless ways to meet people, why does finding a genuine connection still feel so hard? Together, we're exploring modern dating, the technology that's shaping it, why more matches don't always lead to more meaningful relationships, and what it might take to create connection that lasts. Whether you're actively dating, thinking about getting back out there, or simply curious about where the future of dating is headed, this conversation will challenge assumptions that you have, spark new perspectives, and hopefully leave you feeling a little more optimistic about what's possible. This is episode 57, Rethinking Modern Dating. Joining me today is Rick Foote, the founder of HAEVN, a managed matching network building a new category between traditional dating, apps, and professional matchmaking. HAEVN's hope is for users, instead of endless swiping, profile tweaking, and draining search behavior, that once you know what you want, attraction has room to grow into something real. If attraction is the spark, intention is the oxygen. Rick has spent 30 years in the technology industry as an executive with large Fortune 500 companies and startups alike. Let's dig in. Hi, Rick. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you were, thankfully we are here on a Monday. You were having some storms where you are in Florida.
Yes.
Fun stuff.
Yes. Yeah, lots of fun.
This podcast almost didn't happen today, right? So,
Right.
but miracles do happen. And so our listeners can get to know you a little bit better. Tell us where you are in the midlife meter.
I am 55 years old.
Okay, so somewhere in the middle, some think that's the beginning. So depends, but right in the middle. And I'm right there with you at 55 and a half. So tell us a little bit about you before getting into Haven and where you are today. What
Sure.
were you doing professionally? And
Yeah, so like you had mentioned, I spent the last 30 years of my career working in the technology industry at mostly at the executive level, building solutions for organizations of all sizes, whether public sector, private sector, across the board, all mostly large organizations, and solving complex problems with technology. That has been my background. I've led large teams, 800 people, type thing. So
small
it's been a
groups.
journey. It's been a journey.
Yeah. So were you always interested in relationships and human connection, or how did that come about for you?
Yeah, I think everybody is to some extent, but not professionally. It's always been something that has been an aspect or a part of my life. I've got a lot of friends that are still dating, either still or once again back in the market, and it's just been something that has been near and dear to my heart. I've had some pretty good success, um, and I think that's for me, human connections are probably the most important thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Tell
just
me
more,
a
more
little bit of,
non-professional.
yeah, more and bringing it, like you said, into the professional space. Um, well, what was your dating experience specifically online for yourself? Dating
Yeah.
web, on the web or apps?
Actually, I met my wife on Match.com almost 20 years ago.
Nice.
It was back when people still raised eyebrows when you talked about meeting someone online, you know, but it's actually the most efficient thing that I had done in that space. We'd go out and meet people organically, and that was that was fine, but it was challenging at least a little bit from my standpoint because schedule and being busy, you're traveling a lot and things like that. And when you're really heads down at that time for me, just really engaged in my career, it was hard to
Mhm.
organically meet people. You meet people for, a moment here, a moment there, but it just lacked a little bit of intention. So match was a great thing.
Yeah, and I love how you mentioned that you used the word how it was efficient for you at the time, which I don't think many people are using that word for dating online or apps these days. What was a defining moment that made you think dating has to work better than this? Because it sounds like it came after maybe you met your wife and you hear your friends' stories. So,
Mhm.
how did that come about? The professional part.
Right, right. So, part of what I did for a long time was using technology to solve problems. And we got very good at it. We got a lot of problem solving, and you start to realize that why is dating any different? You look at the technology, kind of the trends from the beginning of digital dating in the late 90s to where we are now. I think there's got to be a better way to do this. I thought we were going down a good path in the early days. It was really about more search. You think about it, Match and
Mhm.
others at the time, it was really just a searchable database when you think about it.
Mhm.
And then about 15 years later, so Tinder comes along and introduced Swipe, and that's when the game changed. And so now here we are in 2026, and it's time for another change, right?
Went
Uh,
went a little downhill from there. Maybe, I mean,
right,
there's some positives, but, it didn't get us, I think, where we want to be.
correct. Yeah.
So,
And
what
you know what? I don't want to talk bad about swipe apps. I mean, I think that they have a function. They're easy to use, they're entertaining, and it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, it works very well for some people, and for other people, maybe not so much. But
yeah.
you know,
What has surprised you most once you started studying dating more?
what has surprised me the most? Well, I think the thing that surprised me the most is that when you talk to people privately or individually, they're often very clear about what they're looking for, what their intent is. Maybe they are honest about certain things that they're not sure about, but they articulate it fairly well. As soon as they get into a dating scenario situation, it's like they get amnesia, or there's this lack of willingness to share too much because, quote, it's too soon. And
Mhm,
I'd say probably the thing that I laugh about the most is it seems like everyone has a representative that they send
mhm,
that is the most perfect version of themselves or the most presentable version of themselves, and they
sure.
reserve the rest for later. That
Yeah.
was probably the most surprising thing for me because I don't know how you develop a foundation on sand. I
Mhm.
certainly understand discretion and disclosure, but you have to build a foundation that's
Yeah.
solid to build on. So,
Well, and I love that because I mean, I could say I'm guilty sometimes as well where, well, I don't wanna share too much or have or put it's almost like sharing who I am, what my needs are that might be, "Oh, I feel like I'm putting expectations on someone else," but it's really just being honest of, "This is who I am, this is how I like to communicate or interact," and just
correct.
you said being transparent for a so no one's guessing or thinking that they're reading mixed signals and making stuff up. So,
Right. That's right. That's right.
um, how has Haven how have you created it to be different from, say, eHarmony or Match with the link I know there's a questionnaire involved, but yeah, start to tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. So it's different in a number of ways, but I'll just kind of back up and start at the very, very beginning. We do have a fairly detailed onboarding survey, which is similar to what people might be used to with something with platforms like eHarmony or even Match to some
Mhm,
extent. I think the difference is eHarmony, for example, is their philosophy is they believe that psychology can predict successful long-term relationships, and we agree with them. I think that's uh, the truth.
Yeah.
But the problem is that not everybody's looking for a long-term relationship, and compatibility is one part of the puzzle, but it's not the whole piece of the pie. You need also intention. And the way I like to describe that and explain it is if you're going on a road trip and you're traveling with a partner and you have the same musical taste, you have the same schedule for breaks and stops and things like that, and you just genuinely get along, that's
Hmm.
compatibility. But
Hmm.
when you start talking about, well, one of you wants to go to Chicago and the other one wants to go to New York, that's intent. And no matter how compatible you are, if you're not going to the same place, it really doesn't matter. So we start with an intent first model and compatibility follows. So we measure intent and we define that very specifically. There's several factors that go into intent. Really, essentially, are these two people looking to build the same type of relationship and are they trying to go in the same way? Do they envision the future of that relationship looking and feeling roughly the same? If
Hmm.
that's yes, then we start looking at compatibility elements and things like that. And so all of that is captured within our onboarding survey.
Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I love that difference. Intent, it just reminds me to what we were speaking about a little bit earlier is that it's not so much putting expectations on another person out there. It's just
Mhm.
saying, this is who I honestly am and what I'm, like you said, the direction I'm looking to go into. Are you looking to go into this direction with some of the same parameters? And I love the road trip analogy. I know Haven asked the question, could this be the end of the swipe era? And I know I have about 40 years in dating experience, and there have been many new things that have come out. But how would that be possible? I mean, do you feel outside of what you're creating, you're also going along with what people or culture are wanting out there? How does Haven see potentially, pulling people off of some of that?
Yeah, so I think the best way to answer that question is there's some people that are always going to want to swipe, and that's great, and we think they should. But for others that are looking for less management of a profile, less gamification, more intention, we felt that the best way to do that was to stop and take a step back. When I was thinking about how do I build a better app, what I kept coming back to was don't build an app.
Mm.
So Haven doesn't have an app that you can download from the App Store or anything like that. This is not that. It is technology based, and you do interact with a technology platform, but there's no app that you have to manage. And in the research that we're doing, not including all the folks that we talked to, I mean, I've got a lot of friends that, as I mentioned, that are dating as well, and no one wants that extra work and that second job that dating has
Right.
become. You know, it's like the worst job you've had, and the pay is terrible.
The pay
Um,
is terrible.
right? The pay is it's not good.
Yes.
And so we're just really following the natural motion that people are going in anyway, which
Yep.
is how do I get out of my screen and back into the real world? You know, we're seeing a resurgence of terms like third spaces and
Mhm.
others that are really more focused on real world interaction and less digital screen time.
Yep.
So the model that we built was exactly that. Complete this detailed survey, tell us who you are, what you're looking for, and then we will build technology, not AI, but we will build technology to go out and scan a network of people looking for high compatible matches. And we'll
Mhm.
let you know when we find them. Otherwise, go live your life, enjoy, have fun, and know that we're working in the background.
Well, and I do love that you said you have, I believe it is Match Mondays. So
Right.
someone, it's nice to go, oh, I'm going to be receiving something and I can go from there instead of, like you said, be online for endless hours. So
Yeah.
I love that.
There's
Um,
one other thing with that too. You know, one of the things that we did some focus groups early on just to understand people were feeling, what they liked and what they didn't like about modern dating. And one of the things that kept coming up was messaging. I thought this was very interesting. You can get a message from somebody on Tuesday at 1 p.m. and you don't know that that message is coming in on Tuesday at 1 p.m. And maybe you don't see that
Mhm.
until Wednesday at 6 p.m. For the person that sent that message, the clock starts the moment they send that message in terms of expectation, right? Am I going to get a response? Okay, this person hasn't responded. Maybe they're not interested. When in fact, that person may not even know that message exists.
Mm.
That's not that you're, not that they're not interested. And so
Purposely.
we wanted to consolidate it down to one point in time. People were checking their phones every 5 minutes to see if something had changed. And we're like, that's against the ethos of getting off the technology.
Mhm.
So Match Monday came really as a result of how do we get people back into the world and only bring them back into technology when it's important to do so.
Yeah, and I think that ties in with one of the questions I was going to ask, or just the information that has been out there probably since COVID and quarantine and the loneliness epidemic, and people maybe feeling more lonelier online. I have seen outside of speaking with you that, you know, a lot of other efforts are going towards people meeting in real life. And I think that was another really cool feature that you've created is about letting us take some of the work out of that for you is that once you match, you have a button or certain suggestions of local places between the 2 people. Maybe highlight that a little bit.
Sure. So yeah, so that was something else that we learned early on and have experienced personally that where to go for a date, planning the effort of planning a date is for some people pretty stressful. And we wanted to try to take as much of that off the plate as possible. So to do that, we partner with local businesses. I should back up and just explain Haven is a local or city by city dating network. So
Mhm.
we go to one city at a time and we build a network of people so that we have a good density and we can make quality matches. So within those cities or geographies, let's call them, we'll identify neighborhoods, and we try to do that in a way that it allows for good distribution so people can get to places easily. And then we partner with a coffee shop, a restaurant, a bar, a hotel, and an activity spot like
Right.
axe throwing or bowling or whatever.
So fun.
And as part of that, as part of the survey too, we understand from people and we learn what their first date preferences are, how they like to go. They like to go slow, fast. Do they like quiet places where they can have conversations?
Mhm.
And we evaluate all these places and partner with them, and then we also have their zip code and their geography. So we're able to say this location is about halfway between both of you, this coffee shop, and we send people to these locations that we partner with, and they do special promotions and things like that, which is great. But it takes a lot of the stress of picking where to go. It takes that off
Yes.
the.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking from being a woman and going through so many changes over the dating years of I remember when I was younger, it was a very strong focus of, okay, women go out there and ask the men out. And traditional is men ask the women out. And so I
Right.
think sometimes both are wondering who should be doing what.
Right.
And that just kind of, hey, do you want to meet? Both say yes. And look, there's a place kind of takes the guessing or the work, which who doesn't love that, out of it. So that's lovely. And the first areas where you're starting, you said, is it Austin, Portland? Is that where you're locally right now?
Correct. Austin, Portland, and Tampa, St. Pete. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
We have a list of cities where we're coming in the schedule. There's 2 every other month, for the next several months. And I also wanted to just say one other thing. You mentioned, uh, who says, "Would you like to meet?" That was another thing that came up very common as well, and so we've integrated into the tool a ready to meet function. So when you're communicating or messaging with someone, you can select "I'm ready to meet," And if both people select ready to meet, a notification will pop up that you're ready to do that.
Mhm.
We also have a feedback loop in there too. So after you go on your date, if yeah, things went well, that's great. If they didn't, we'd like to know. We give you the opportunity to tell us so that we can fine tune our matches for you as a
Yeah.
result. So that's a little bit different as well.
Well, and I do love that. That is something really in where we are today. Good to note, because like you mentioned in the beginning, no, we are not doing this with AI, which every you would think everybody and everything is going towards. And
Right.
so it's nice to know that you like, wait, we're going to still traditionally put some people effort into this and take your information as a human and see where we go. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing for sure, especially in today's world
Right.
and all the things that are jumping on the bandwagon.
Right.
Getting into a little bit about midlife dating, do you see any differences between someone dating, say, at 28 versus 48 or 58 as far as personalities or style?
We do. I do as well. I think at 28, you're looking for someone that you can build a life with. Whereas at 48, you're looking for someone that can integrate into your life and you can integrate into their life. And that's
Mhm,
probably the biggest difference that I see.
mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. Do you see any misunderstandings about modern dating in midlife women? Has that come up?
Misunderstandings.
Mhm,
I don't know that I see misunderstandings. I think the biggest thing that we see is maybe a reliance on how things were versus how things are.
mhm,
And how things are can be multiple different things.
mhm.
Again, just using the example that we just talked about, looking for someone that you can integrate into the life that you've built and you can integrate into the life that they've built is a very different set of motions than trying to find someone to build a life with.
Yeah.
And so we do see, I guess the best way to call it is kind of, um, uh, it's more like habit behavior. This is
Mhm.
this is how I've done it in the past. This is how I've always
Yeah.
done it. So what got me
Yeah.
here, maybe will get me there. And that's generally not the right answer.
There is that, and I like to say how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right.
So, and sometimes as a Gen Xer, I would say we are going along for the ride, partially pioneering and partially between 2 generations where yeah, who's taking time out to say, maybe get a coach or some training on, like you said, this is what was. This is
Right.
how things are. And I think your app through the people element and all the time and effort that you're putting in the research, which I don't know if other people are doing the groups again, right? Like getting real personal feedback is that there is a coaching element to it with you. We know that you want ways to meet. Let us help you come to do that easily versus if that function wasn't there, we'd probably still be wondering who's supposed to ask who out
Right.
first.
Right.
So I love that. How important do you think emotional readiness is an important part of putting together someone's profile?
No, I think it's incredibly important because without that, it's hard to really have clear intent. And clear intent is the foundation of what we do. I think there's a large reliance on chemistry, and chemistry is great, but chemistry isn't the foundation. Um, it's one of those things where emotional having that clarity is really, really necessary. It's hard to tell someone else, um, or not tell someone. It's hard to convey to someone really what you're looking for, what your preferences are, what your boundaries are, if you don't have that emotional element
Mhm.
nailed down, or at least mostly figured out. I mean, I don't know any of us have it fully nailed down, to be
Right.
honest, but um, you know, uh, and being vulnerable about it too, and being able to truly say, in this area, is I don't know,
Yeah.
or I'm not sure. That's probably one of the best things to do that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I do like that, especially when it comes to midlife dating. When I think of dating in my 20s, 30s, a lot is based on chemistry, looks, then, like you
Mhm.
said, setting up a family together, where in midlife, it's different. It's not like we're going all out with our looks and
Right.
there, like you said, I have a life, you have a life, things are shifting and changing. So I really love the push on today's podcast to really be brave to speak about your needs, your desires, your intention, and to not be afraid of that, especially at midlife, to just start doing it. And leading into that, I'm going to throw out some beliefs I hear every day coaching women in midlife, and just get your thoughts on these. It could even be a that's no longer a thing, thumbs up, thumbs down, or you have some real deep thoughts. But there are no good men left.
Um, no good men left. Oh, I disagree. I think there are plenty of good men around. I think that when people say there's no good men left, what they're really saying is, I can't find them. And I can't find them is a fair answer. As a 55-year-old guy, the friends that I have that are single, they're not on dating apps and they're
Mhm,
not really pursuing trying to find someone. And these are good guys. They're
mhm,
successful. They're kind. They have they check all the boxes. So, you ask the question, well, what's wrong with them? Well, sometimes certain relationships don't work out and things happen. Sometimes I have a couple friends whose spouses have passed away. And so
mhm.
there's a lot of reasons why, but they're not proactively searching in the way that people are looking for them. And
Yeah.
that creates this perception that there's no good men. And then on the flip side too, they've also lost a little bit of confidence. They're not as they can't swing it like they used to, And so it's it that kind of weighs on your confidence in a lot of cases. And so I have one friend in particular, and we see this in some of the interviews that we've done with some of our users. They're they're not sure. They lack a little bit of
Mhm,
confidence in that
mhm.
swagger that they once had. They don't look the same. They don't move the same, and
Things
they're like,
hurt.
right. If things hurt, and they're like, I don't know. I'm not as confident, and I forgot how to do it.
I
You
can't
know.
walk as fast or run as fast. Yes. I love that you bring that up because I'm, again, personally, and having speaking to midlife women or coaching midlife women, um, that it kind of goes both ways. I figure we're on equal playing ground with a little bit different, but on equal playing ground, that both of us have probably lost a little confidence. Whether you're single, never been married, like you said, you've been divorced, you've lost a wife, things have changed, and now it's like it feels brand new again. Where do I get that confidence
Right.
from? And I love going back to your app of just creating ways for people to just express what they're looking for. Now, it is challenging though if there's some good men that aren't online. Hopefully, with what your app is doing and the push to get in real life, that they are there, they are in real life. They may not be on an app. But here's going back to some of those lines: dating apps are only for hookups.
Uh, no, that's not true. I mean, there's plenty of them that are.
There are
Let's not
some that are,
sugarcoat
yes.
that, but there are some that are not. And I certainly understand why someone would say that because it's often hard to differentiate. Without trying to pitch Haven too much, but that's literally one of the reasons why Haven was created.
Hmm.
We think of it like LinkedIn for your love life. If
Hmm.
you're a professional and you have a LinkedIn profile, you're doing it for
Hmm.
reasons. Recruiters can find you and things like that. You're findable.
Yes.
Haven is exactly the same thing. You create your profile, you complete the survey, and you're findable. You can
Hmm.
choose to take the interview in the
Yeah.
LinkedIn example or not. But um, it's about being findable, and intent is what drives the connection. So there is no public square. Your profile isn't shared to thousands or, hundreds of thousands of people. The only if they meet that 80% compatible threshold will they
Yeah.
even see you. So
Yeah.
uh, I don't know how to fight that perception of dating apps are for hookups only. Just to say
Sure.
that they're not, and I think that there's some that are lean that way
Yeah.
for sure, but not all of them.
Well, I think that's, yeah, probably coming from the Tinder days and when you talked about gamify, I remember being on Tinder once where they did gamify their app to at certain hours, you would play a game and they had different ones going on. And I thought
Right.
it resonated well because that's, it's like keeping your attention going, right?
Hmm. Right.
But yeah, these are definitely some, old ones. What about women should never message first? Bumble was created to give women the platform to and the responsibility to message first. But what do you think? Yes, yay, nay, doesn't matter.
That's a personal opinion for me, and I think
Okay.
it doesn't matter, frankly.
Okay.
I appreciate it if a woman is willing to, but I don't expect her to.
Okay.
So I think that, particularly in our age group, it's kind of we sit between the old ways and the new a little bit,
Hmm.
generationally.
Yes.
And I think that it's perfectly fine for a woman to message first.
Okay.
But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you in some regards with all the back and forth between traditional, modern,
Right.
non-traditional, that we're in just in a day where to speak your intention, to
It also
share.
sets the tone too, right? If
Mhm,
you think about it, I mean, so for someone like me, if a woman is willing to message first, that resonates with me. It's not expected, but it's certainly appreciated.
mhm,
If I was a more traditional person that didn't like that, then that would tell me that we probably have deeper elements that may not align. So I
mhm.
think the worry about things like that are more about how do I stay neutral enough to not ruin this potential connection. And I always take the perspective of ruin it. If you're
Mhm.
doing you and that ruins it, then it wasn't right to begin with. So move on.
Love it.
So
Yeah. Yeah, you do you. Well,
right,
it goes back to being authentic and your
correct.
intentions, both parties, and just, I mean, dating is really learning about yourself and another person, right? And so that goes to, if someone is interested, you should know immediately. What are your
Right, right. Yes, very much so.
um, I mean, with your app, when someone meets, um, how is it that you want them, or what's, I don't know, the future thought once you get a successful match and a meet, are you hoping that through the survey and through certain things that people have instant connection, instant chemistry? What's kind of, what are you looking, or the hope for it at the end result?
For sure. Our hope is that they find whatever type of connection it is that they're looking for.
Okay.
So from a Haven perspective, we don't we don't determine what's a good connection or relationship or not. Not everybody's
Mhm,
looking for long term. Some people are looking for casual and different things. And so it truly is an intent driven model. So if you think about just the world of dating apps, we talked about hookup apps. That's probably the one thing that we don't have integrated into Haven is a
mhm,
hookup component.
mhm,
But everything else from a specialization standpoint is included there. So our goal is that people find whatever type of connection is that they're looking for. That
mhm,
could be, um, traditional, or it could be a third. For
mhm.
us, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, beautiful. Well, just a few kind of more thoughtful questions. Do you think vulnerability through the apps, online dating, just the culture we're in, is vulnerability becoming a lost skill? Is it necessary in dating?
I think it is becoming a lost skill, and it's funny that you mentioned that because we was just reading a brief this morning on this. We do a fair amount of social listening. We gather thousands of conversations from social media, things, places like Reddit and others, and we gather it all and synthesize it down into bite-sized pieces. And one of the trends that we're seeing is a lack of vulnerability intentionally because it's a protective measure.
Mm,
It's to not be hurt or not have the potential to be hurt. But
mhm,
unfortunately, I think that by doing that, we're also at the same time cutting ourselves off. So
mhm,
relationships require uncertainty.
mhm.
That's just part of the deal. And
Yes,
so that's a whole different category that I'm not qualified to talk about as to why
sure.
people may not do that when we know that it's a required component. But relationships require uncertainty and vulnerability. And yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I just even though you myself definitely not the expert there, just saying it out loud and making it maybe a little normalized for people that are even just guessing themselves because if no one's talking about it, no one's talking about it.
exactly.
And it's nice to feel heard or go, oh, someone gets me. I am having that challenge. So
Right.
I can, yeah. Um, is consistency important and can it mean different things to different people?
Consistency in behavior or consistency in general.
I think in starting out, like, let's say someone connects on Haven or another app. Consistency, I guess that could be communication, follow up, planning, connecting. I feel it's a big part of getting to know someone, but there could be so maybe that's not part of your research. It's always a question on my mind, and it kind of goes to being vulnerable of what people are expecting. But
Too.
I feel like there has to be some consistency for people to get to know each other, and maybe that's what I'm
Yeah.
referencing.
I think we think about it maybe a little bit differently. And I'll use an example. I have a daughter that is 25 and she lives on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. And every time that I talk to her, she ends the conversation with, well, I'll talk to you at some point in the future. And that's her way of saying, don't have an expectation that I'm going to call you every weekend. Don't have don't set any expectations. We will talk, but it will be at some point in the future. That's consistent for her. And I
Hmm.
think that when we talk about consistency, we often apply our definition of consistency to
Yes.
somebody else, and that may not be appropriate. And so
Hmm.
when I think about consistency, I think about it in terms of just be consistent with what you said you were going to do.
Yep.
And if we're talking about messaging frequency, so, we have some people that say, I'd like to communicate regularly, particularly early in a relationship so that I feel like there's momentum and things moving in a certain direction. And that's fine. That's great.
Hmm.
And then there's others that say, yeah, no. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm busy, I'm tired. Sometimes I just don't want to do anything. And it's not
Right.
that I don't care. So consistency to me is being true to whatever, kind of baseline you set. And if that
Yeah.
works for the other person, then great. If not, then there's probably something you need to talk about there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great great example. She's very clear and, saying who she is and yeah, and working around that or working with
Right.
that. Looking a little ahead, what do you think healthy dating looks like in 5 years? Or what do you
Healthy
hope to
dating
look
in
like?
5 years. I think that healthy dating in 5 years is less gamification and more intention. Selfishly, and again, this is not, I shouldn't say selfishly because it has nothing to do with Haven. I truly believe this. The findability model to me makes a lot of sense. If you if you can meet somebody organically and lightning strikes and there's not only that initial chemistry and attraction, but there's also shared intent and deep compatibility, that's great.
Mhm,
But the reality is that's very, very rare and difficult to find, particularly as you get older.
mhm,
So we start to kind of cut corners and maybe massage things and kind of make it fit. I would love to see a return to intentional dating, where you can be open and honest about who you are. You don't have to send a representative, or at least maybe you send a representative, but you don't have like a whole Department of State. Like, so, you don't need all that. Just one ambassador, maybe, and he's part time, something, but
You don't need a
that would
whole
be,
staff, just
you
one,
don't need it.
just one.
That's right. Yeah, that would be great in terms of
Oh,
future dating.
yeah, I love that too. Intentional and yeah, kind of removing some of the fears that may be through, more people working at home or isolation or through
Sure.
just forgetting what some social cues feel like that again that they would feel comfortable in their own skin to just express themselves and
Right.
connect. What's one thing you think every listener could do this week that would create more meaningful connection? I don't know, whether it was to speak their mind, to do it, go online, check out Haven. What comes top of mind that they could create more meaningful connection for themselves?
Uh, I want everybody to go check out Haven on it,
Well,
obviously,
first
but
do
I
that,
think,
everybody.
but I think that something they can do this week to create more meaningful intention. Keep going back to making sure that we know ourselves and then know what we're looking for and then taking some risks. But that's not quite what you're asking. I
Well, I
think
like
just
the
being a little
taking
bit.
the risks. I, I,
Mhm.
I do like that. Being brave, taking a little
Yeah.
risk. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just a few friends of mine and things that we've talked about just keep coming up in my mind, and I'm thinking about what they say. And, they may see somebody or they're talking to somebody online, and there's a lot of hesitancy, and I think it's often fear-based. They're worried about one thing or another.
Mhm.
Probably all of them are related to some form of rejection.
Mhm.
And that's why I keep going back to just be okay with yourself and then go take a risk.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my answer to that
I
one.
like that because you're really taking a risk by not doing something.
That's
You're
right, you
taking a
are.
risk to not find the answer or to know if it's going to go one way or the other. So, yeah, I love that. Just taking a risk that's with some action or with putting yourself out there.
That's right.
So here's some ending rapid fire questions. If midlife had a theme song for you, what would it be?
Um, don't stop believing.
Love that. Okay. And I think
Yeah,
That's Journey, right?
that's Journey, yeah.
And I think they're coming in concert or currently.
Oh, are
So
they?
check. Yeah, I think they're going
Nice.
around right now in concert. So that's perfect timing.
Yeah.
Um, what's one online dating profile cliche that you'd retire forever?
Mirror selfies.
Okay, thank you. And I
Oh my
have
god.
seen mirror selfies now with a man brushing his teeth.
Right.
Um, I'm sure you've seen it all. I've seen it all.
I mean, I just asked the question, don't you have any friends that can take your picture? I mean, honestly.
Can't you put the timer on? I use the
Something, help
timer
out.
on my phone.
Right? Like, why are we doing this?
Why are you in the bathroom of all
Right.
places?
Mirror
Okay.
selfies for sure.
Don't you know that fluorescent lighting is not the best lighting for you? um, One quality you hope never goes out of style in dating.
Hmm. That's a good one. I'd say curiosity.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's got to be it.
That's top of my list. And finish this sentence. Real connection begins when.
We stop performing.
Hmm. Again, drop the mic. No representatives, definitely not a team. If you
Right.
need one, just one. So that's how we're leaving this today. And to go check out Haven. So thank you so much for joining this for this conversation today, Rick. It's been really fun. And how should listeners best find Haven and give it a try?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me too. This has been great. And they can find us at haven.co, HAEVN.co.
Okay. And they can take, I think you said the survey for free and look around and feel it out, although they won't be able to get any matches quite yet, but they can give it a try for free. Is that correct?
Yes, the survey is free. Becoming a member in the network is free. Matches are delivered when we turn cities on live.
That's correct. Yeah.
That's so that we can build enough density and have people to match you with. But we are encouraging folks to complete their surveys no matter where they live. I can tell you right now, we have over 50 cities with multiple people completing their surveys that are not live cities for Haven today. And we're
Right.
using that information to help plan where we go next. So when we see density there and activity there, that's where we go. So if you want Haven live in your area, complete the
Yeah.
survey, tell others that you know that have a need or are looking for somebody to do the same, and we'll see it and we'll pay attention.
Well, I will definitely be doing mine for the greater Los Angeles area. And I can't wait till you're out here because this is a big pool of dating and fish
Yeah,
out here
yeah,
to
yeah.
to jump into, but I'm going to keep the lookout. So thank you again, and I hope today's episode reminded you that while technology may change the way we meet, it can never replace the qualities that create lasting connection, curiosity, vulnerable. I can't even speak. Curiosity, vulnerability, authenticity, and the courage to keep showing up as yourself. If there's one thing I hope you take away, it's this: finding love isn't about becoming more interesting, more perfect, or more desirable. It's about becoming more connected to who you are so you can recognize the people who are generally aligned with you. And if this episode resonated, I'd love for you to like, follow, or subscribe, or leave a review and let us know your thoughts. Please share this episode with a friend who's navigating the wild world of modern dating also. And until next time, remember, miracles aren't always lightning bolt moments. Sometimes they're quiet decisions to stay open, trust yourself, and believe that meaningful connection is still possible. I'm Suzanne, your midlife wingwoman, and this has been Men, Menopause, and Miracles. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.